Christmas movies are like anything else. Everyone's got a favorite and most people disagree on them. Now, I've covered in another video that Die Hard is my favorite Christmas movie, but since even Bruce Willis seems to disagree with me on that, I will admit that Home Alone is a very, very close second. So naturally, when Home Alone came out as a video game, I jumped on the chance to play it. I remember renting it for sure, but I didn't really remember anything about it from when I was a kid. Still, with the holiday season upon us, I thought it'd be a good time to take another look at the Home Alone video game, at least the Super Nintendo version, since that's what I played back in the day. I haven't touched the thing for like 30 years, so why not see how it holds up after all this time, right?
Nintendo video games.
Marry me with my money.
Now you're playing with power.
So let's clear one thing up right off the bat. There were actually a bunch of Home Alone video games that made their way to the console in the first few years of the swingin' 90s. From the NES to the Game Boy, Sega, Amiga, and even the PC, it seemed like everyone was getting a cut. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, the movie grossed over $500 million at the box office and was the #1 movie in theaters for like 12 weeks straight. We're only covering the SNES version here today though, but I'll touch on the massive differences between the other versions in a bit. That said, I think you know we don't have a very good history of video games about movies, at least not here in the States. And the Super Nintendo version, which came out in 1991, well, as you'll soon find out, it was widely considered to be a great film license with a huge opportunity, and it was mostly a flop. In fact, as Amanda Dyson famously wrote in Mega Magazine about the game in '92, it was a wasted film license, a grotesquely overpriced and pathetically underdeveloped mockery of a game. That's harsh as hell. Savage even, but as you'll soon see, she wasn't wrong. There's not a lot to the plot that you can't pull out from the movie, except that 2/3 of what happens in the movie never made it into the game, and some of the things that were already a little silly in the movie are cranked up to 11 in this thing. In the Super Nintendo version of Home Alone, your house is getting robbed by the wet bandits, Marv and Harry, and you, Kevin, have to race to secure Mom and Dad's nice stuff and stash it in the basement as quick as you can. Apparently your basement has a safe room in this game. I don't remember that from the movie, but I don't know. And to be more specific, there are apparently 4 safe rooms in the 4 separate wings of this house. Stick with me, this gets better. Now the whole protect the rich stuff from the bad guys goal isn't entirely different from the film, but apparently physics and common sense cost extra in this game because you're basically just jamming everything down the laundry chute to get it to safety, which, I don't know, I think it kind of ruins the magic a little. This includes the 4th level where instead of rescuing valuables, you're rescuing pets. A metric shit ton of pets, like 40 of them. And since this house has 100 rooms spread through 4 wings, I guess there's room for them, but I don't know.
Harry, help me get up!
But once you get everything down there, you also have to brave the terrifying basement yourself to get into the safe room each time you complete a wing of the house. And apparently maintenance and pest control weren't high on the McAllister's list of chores at this point, because you're going to run into bats, rats, spiders, and even ghosts on your little journey. I don't know, that's a little messy. I get why he wouldn't want to go down there. And I'm pretty sure Kevin's dad didn't want his gold Rolex or his puppy being hucked down the laundry chute into a pile of bat guano, but what do I know? Anyhow, that's the basic gist. Get the good stuff down to the safe rooms, avoid the bad guys, save the day. And when you finish all 4 wings of the house, Mom comes home and you get your happy ending. You even get to see the bad guys go to jail. It's not much of an ending, but hey, it's something.
Cheapskate.
The gameplay on this one is something else. The controls aren't super janky, you move around with the D-pad, you can jump onto and over things and cycle through or shoot your current weapon, but see, I think I missed something in this game. Because despite getting plenty of weapons throughout the game, including a slingshot, a water gun, and at one point even a BB gun or something, I have no idea what they're supposed to do. I tried shooting all the bad guys I could with them, nothing happened. Everything bounced off of them. Now, I don't know about you, but when I shoot a guy, I expect a little reaction.
Be a good little fella now and open the door.
And speaking of security, well, there isn't a ton. Sure, it's easy enough to avoid the bad guys most of the time, I'll give you that. And there is even one moment I can't get out of my head where Marv, who's usually chasing you, is just kind of stuck there on the rifle of a giant nutcracker, because why wouldn't those be in your house? He literally just hangs out watching you, never moving. There are also a few enemies you just can't avoid, at least not that I saw, so despite this game being pretty easy, some parts are just difficult for no reason. Also, on each wing, you're looking for different things, from valuables to toys, electronics, and eventually animals, but they're hidden in random-ass places like the toilets, behind paintings, random boxes. It's all over the place. And you have to get a certain number on each level to progress, so there's a good amount of backtracking that you're gonna do. Overall though, this game really isn't that hard. The only thing that really gets to me is that at the end of each level, Kevin just kinda comes up with another thing he has to go get. It's just aggravating if you don't know how many levels there are, because you keep thinking you won and you didn't. There are 4, by the way, just in case you wanted to know.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
I really wanted to like the music in this game because I absolutely loved the music in the movie. It was composed by John Williams, who scored a ton of incredible movies including Superman, Indiana Jones, and even Star Wars, so you'd think they'd carry at least a little over into the game, but they just straight didn't. In fact, a bunch of the songs in the game are just blippy reworks of Christmas classics. I get what they were going for, but it does get a little repetitive after a while. I guess the nicest thing I can say about the music in the game is that it's entirely forgettable. And the graphics were kind of a surprise too, but not a great one. They're passable by the 90s standards for SNES games, but there are just some things that don't look very good. The characters are okay, I guess. You can pretty easily tell who's Marv and Harry, but the levels themselves, specifically the rooms, they're just silly. Like, there's a gym that's bigger than the one I go to. There are gold-decked bathrooms, plenty of electronics and stereo rooms, and even a couple rooms that have giant moose heads in them. But nothing seemed realistic to me at all. And I guess if you're into living in a house with like 200 randomly placed tables in the hallways, this would be the spot. One other note on the graphics, they did actually include a couple screen caps from the movie in certain moments, which was kind of cool for the time. But when you get to the ending, they actually used a still that I'm pretty sure is from the second Home Alone movie. Am I wrong? I don't know, let me know in the comments if I am, I genuinely want to know, but either way, the graphics were about as good as the music, which isn't all that good. So I mentioned that this game came to a lot of platforms at the top of the video, and look, I don't have an issue with that in general, it happens all the time. I do have an issue with how different the version that I played was from the rest of them though. See, in the PC version you get 5 minutes, an hour in game time to set up traps for the bad guys, and you get points when they get hit by those traps. Hit them 10 times each, they're out and you can win the game. Apparently if you run out of traps to do that though, the game keeps going and you just can't win at the end. On the NES version, you have to avoid Harry and Marv for 20 minutes, and you can set traps around the house to stop them. Evidently this version is turn-based too, which I think would have been an interesting way to go with the game. The Sega version though, that's where things get a little weird. So you're not just protecting your house, you're protecting a few houses in the neighborhood, and you're doing that by fighting the bad guys face to face with weapons and guns till you fill up their pain meter. Hopefully you do that before they finish robbing the joint and flood the houses. If they flood them all, you lose. I'm not pointing this out to bitch about any of the games in particular, it's just crazy how wildly different the gameplay and the plot overall was for each one. The only thing tying them together is the bad guys, Kevin, and saving houses. Given what games on all these platforms were capable of at the time, playing just one version kind of feels like a robbery in itself. I'm not saying the SNES version had me so hyped I want to play any others, trust me. Honestly, one is enough, but they could have done a whole lot more, and I don't know, that's just a little sad.
I hope I never see any of you jerks again.
Alright, so all things considered, this wasn't the best use of what could have been a pretty awesome game premise. And as far as the SNES version I played is concerned, I feel like I kinda got cheated. More than anything though, I feel bad for the kids who would have ended up buying this game when it came out. Thankfully I rented it, so we were only out like $5, but if the price was anything like other games at the time, it was probably like $60. There definitely wasn't $60 worth of game in this thing, so that means a lot of disappointed kids on Christmas. But my Christmas spirit can't be hindered by a bad game. I still love Home Alone, even Home Alone 2 for the most part. I don't want to talk about the other sequels though, I like to pretend that they never happened, and yeah, after this little trip down memory lane, I think I'm going to do the same thing with this game. Oh, and to the developers behind it, well, I think Johnny said it best.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.